We joined and talked to you, Fred, about how things are and a general view as well. But the first question we're going to put to you, I think, is you must be one of the longest-serving goalkeeping coaches in the game, and I think you're into your 9th season here. Yeah. You must still be enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I am enjoying it because I wouldn't still be doing it. I mean, especially you got all these young goalkeepers coming through. It keeps you young yourself. You know, you can pass on all your knowledge you've actually got. I mean, there's a lot of young goalkeepers out there, but half of them haven't actually played the game. So what I'm doing now at the moment with people like Boothie and the other lads, you sort of like just giving all your good points, your bad points, how you go through hard times, your good times, how to keep them on side all the time to sort of keep them fresh.
The one thing that everybody notices when they come down to the training ground, that you're always full of life and you're full of beans and you keep a happy sort of ship as well. But just on a serious note, how would you describe yourself as a goalkeeping coach?
When we were at Bolton, we had a sports psychologist, so I found that I was actually quite a bubbly person, but more even when I crossed that white line. Because obviously the lads are coming in, I'd say a Saturday game, they're coming on a Monday, they're tired, fatigued, and they need to get going. So you actually have a bit of fun with them to sort of break the ice, and then actually when they get through that day, they feel better for it. So it's a bit of psychological, how can I put it, sort of getting into their heads and sort of making them do it without them knowing it. And that's your experience of, in the past of what you had to do.
You would have seen a lot of changes in the game, there's no doubt about that. But how much has your role changed from when you actually first kicked in at it and, on the goalkeeping coach side?
When I first started off, Sam said, you're just a shoulder to cry on for the keepers. And Sam was always one of them that he tested you to see what you were made of, see if you stood up for yourself and things like that. But there's not much change apart from playing out from the back a lot more. When we sort of started, everything was going long, and teams now are playing a lot more football, which is good for the game. But I think anything else, the training methods I've got, I was quite advanced for myself anyway, that when the Americans were going to make the goals bigger and wider for the World Cup, they tried it, but FIFA wouldn't let them do it. We actually tried to adapt by making the 3-4 yard goals. Even for the small keepers, young kids can actually protect a big man's goal or a big person's goal rather than, width-wise, not height. So all my drills are quite modern. People have tried to copy them, but it's like anything else. If you're not doing it properly, then it's not worth doing. So all the stuff I'm going to, like with Phil now, Phil's been at Villa. He's same as Harvey last year and same as Arthur and James Beagle. They don't do much long kicking. And everything's played out from the back. So they have to learn to adapt. I mean, you probably saw Phil the last couple of kicks against Doncaster that the weather was poor and things like that. So I've actually tried to give Phil another golf club as such, because they all do this sidewinder like Peperina. So I've tried to get Phil to do like an half volley or a volley, which makes it awkward for the centre halves. So we spend a lot of time after training or before trying to sort of give them another golf club in the bag, really, to sort of help them through sticky situations, if it's windy, not windy. There's a lot more goes into than people think, just stopping the ball, work on his stride pattern for his goal kicks, shall we say, not kips. I was half asleep myself there. Just working on goal kicks, 4 strides back, 2.5 to the side, so they get a rhythm, so the stride pattern's the same all the time.
How happy are you at the moment then with how it's going with Filip and Boothie now that Boothie's fully fit and trying to get that number 1 shirt? How happy are you to see their progress?
Obviously, when we first started pre-season, we thought that Tom was going to be the first choice goalkeeper. We brought Filip in pre-season to have a look at him. I think Phil's come on 100% from pre-season. I was talking to Phil on Monday, and he actually agrees with me that his stance for a big lad, buying his space for a big lad. All the nods we're working with, getting him starting his position on corners off his line. I don't think a lot of people understand that when you get a young goalkeeper, they come from these clubs, and it's a learning curve for them. You're not getting a ready-made goalkeeper. So I think in some fans' eyes, they're a bit harsh at times on the goalkeepers because they are going to make mistakes, and I think we're quite good as a club crew that we develop outfield players. And we try to develop the goalkeepers, which we try to get out of. I mean, obviously, years ago at Crewe, it was all about midfield players or strikers. In the past now, it's sort of like you got people like your Zach Williams, your Luke Offords. We're trying to work on outfields like centre halves, Conor O'Reen, and we're trying to work on the goalkeepers. So we're trying to sort of make the club more money in different avenues rather than just sort of, the Crewe midfield player or the striker. It's the all-round game, isn't it? So we're trying to work on the young goalkeepers as well as the outfield players to try and sort of develop everybody.
5 clean sheets so far for Filip. He must be delighted with what you've just been saying, how much he's improved. But what does clean sheets do to goalkeepers?
Confidence. I set Phil a target on his 4th clean sheet, actually. I said the record for Crewe, I think, was 15 in a season. And I've said to Phil, there's your challenge. Can you, as a person, keep more than 15 clean sheets? Arthur did quite well when he came. He kept about maybe 10, I think it was. James Beagle kept a few. Said to him as well, your job now is to keep Boothie out the team. Now he's fit, and I've pulled Boothie, and I said to Phil the same thing. Boothie, I'm going to tell him the same thing. I'm going to work on Boothie to get your spot. So I think that makes us healthy as goalkeepers, that we can actually push each other. And I was quite surprised that a bit unique. That obviously Boothie, I think we played at home against last home game. Tell me what that last home game was. And he kept a clean sheet anyway. And Boothie's gone over and give him a big hug. And I think that's the goalkeepers' union. Only one person can play in goal. So that person who's playing has the support of every other goalkeeper at the club.
The one thing that you've had here in the last few seasons is goalkeepers, like you've already mentioned, coming out of Premier League clubs into Crewe to get some matches under the belt and get some experience. Do you have to change because they've come from Premier League clubs? Do you have contacts with the parent clubs that they're with, their goalkeeping coaches?
Yeah. Because we did well with Arthur, obviously from when we first come, I thought it was like an outfield player with gloves on. If you remember that Rochdale game, I thought I signed the wrong one. But we changed him from kicking into row double Z to row Z after foul games. So we actually, worked on him. But yeah, I mean, because we did well with him, and James Beagle was like a young boy. I think he was just in that academy sort of young pro age. A lot of people were umming and ahhing, but I've got contacts through the agents of goalkeepers that they said, look, he's going to be a good keeper. And because he did well with both of them, now people are actually ringing me and offering goalkeepers to me rather than us having to go chasing them. With Filip, the goalkeeping, head of goalkeeping at Villa, he said I used to train him when he was younger and he knows about me, and he said do what you want with him. Because my past record in, I'll blow my own trumpet, it's like, your Aaron Ramsdale's, your Jaskalians, your Ali Abzis. And they knew what I'm doing with the young goalkeepers, so they know that I'm actually going to make them better goalkeepers when they go back. I mean, they're talking now, James Beagle, they're talking maybe £20 million. But don't forget, Crewe was the first club to sort of put him on that ladder. And Arthur, he's gone on to, he went to Austria, then he's gone to Wrexham, and, he's done really well.
Well, here we are now, 10 games have been played. You're in a nice steady position. I think you've only conceded 10 goals as the last line of defence. Yeah. That's not a bad start to the season going into the weekend's game. Yeah,
I mean, if you consider that we actually let 5 in against Chesterfield, so that's straight away you can half that down. That it shows that we're doing not just the goalkeepers, the managers, and the assistant manager and Kenny, and they're doing well with the outfield players. A big change around. We've got 5, 6 experience, what you'd call first team players who probably would be starting or thereabouts. So, we're doing quite well at the moment with what we've got. That's why you call it a squad. And it gives the young players a chance to, if you look at the cup competition when we nearly finished with I think it was 10 academy players, and if you count the young lad who played up front, it's more or less like the third time we've put a Crewe 11 out really, because he's come through as a development player. And it was good to probably say that was probably the youngest team we've put out in a Crewe strip than the last two previous times.
Just finally rounding it up, obviously England's in the spotlight, and of course you'll be looking at what goes on with the goalkeepers. You've got a very big interest, of course, in Aaron Ramsdale.
Yeah.
What do you make of the situation? Obviously the caretaker manager decided to change with Jordan Pickford coming out of the last game.
Yeah, I mean it's healthy, isn't it? I mean obviously you got a new manager, so what a new manager would probably say is it's a clean slate for everybody. He'll have different ways of playing. I think Aaron will probably get back in the squad now he's actually playing. I think that's what he's actually gone to Southampton for. It's not about just sitting there and picking up money. Aaron's one of them that actually wants to play, so he's took a step sideways rather than backwards to probably try and get into the England squad, because he's still young. Pope's in his 30s, Pickford's getting on there. Henderson's still a young one, so you've got places there for the new younger goalkeepers to come in and challenge.